Chapter 3 is about ecosystems. What are they and how do they work? The core case study focuses on tropical rainforests and how they're disappearing. So tropical rainforests cover only 2% of the Earth's surface, but can contain up to half of the world's terrestrial plant and animal species. They're destroyed by logging, crop development, cattle grazing, and encroaching civilization. So why should you be concerned about the disappearance of tropical rainforest? And can you identify the ecosystem in which you live? These are important questions to consider, and as we think about those questions, we need to be able to identify Earth's life support system and how it works. So Earth's life support system has 4 spherical components that interact with each other, and life is sustained by the cycling of nutrients and energy between and through these systems. So those 4 major components are the atmosphere, which is composed of the troposphere and the stratosphere, the hydrosphere, water at or near the Earth's surface, which includes ice, water, and water vapor, the geosphere, composed of a hot core, a thick, mostly rock mantle, and a thin outer crust, and then the biosphere, wherever life is found within the other 3 spheres. As you work your way through this chapter, think about the 3 factors that sustain the Earth. The one-way flow of high-quality energy, review the solar energy principle of sustainability and the greenhouse effect, the cycling of nutrients, review the chemical cycling principle of sustainability, and gravity. Section 3.2, what are the major components of an ecosystem, includes a discussion of organisms that produce their own nutrition, organisms that satisfy nutritional requirements by consuming other organisms, and takes a look at organisms that decompose waste and remains of organisms, thereby recycling the nutrients. Remember that soil is a renewable resource. It provides nutrients, it helps to purify water, and it helps to control the Earth's climate. Ecosystems have several important components, and the field of study in science that examines how organisms interact with each other and with their non-living environment is referred to as ecology. Now, there's a couple of important terms to think about. Biotic represents the living parts of the environment, and the abiotic represents the non-living parts of the environment. Together, they exhibit sequential levels of organization, and those are the levels that we will focus on in this course. Those levels include organisms, populations, communities, ecosystems, and the biosphere. The main components of an ecosystem are energy, chemicals, and organisms. Nutrient cycling and the flow of energy first from the sun, then through organisms, and finally into the environment as low-quality heat link these components. What happens to energy in an ecosystem? Well, energy flows through ecosystems via movement between trophic levels through food chains and food webs. The quality of energy available to organisms decreases as each successive trophic level is reached, because so much energy, heat energy, is lost moving from one level to the next. Let's take a closer look at this. So figure 3.11 shows the energy flow through various trophic levels. It's just a generalized pyramid of energy flow that shows the decrease in usable chemical energy available at each succeeding trophic level in a food chain or food web. Remember, this model assumes that with each transfer from one trophic level to another, there is a 90% loss of usable energy to the environment in the form of that low-quality heat. So a food chain is simply a sequence of organisms, each of which serves as a nutritional source for the next. You remember, big fish eats little fish. A food web is a complex network of interconnected food chains. So figure 3.12 shows you an aquatic food web in the southern hemisphere, and figure 3.13 shows you a terrestrial food web in a desert ecosystem. Some ecosystems produce plant matter faster than others do, And there are a couple of terms that we need to remember. First, GPP, the gross primary productivity. This is the rate that an ecosystem's producers convert energy into biomass. The other term, NPP, is the net primary productivity. This is the rate that producers use photosynthesis to produce and store chemical energy, minus the rate at which they use energy for aerobic respiration. Terrestrial and aquatic ecosystems differ in their NPP, and despite low NPP, oceans produce most of the world's biomass because of their vast size. Tropical rainforests have a high NPP. Much is lost through natural capital degradation. Only plant matter represented by NPP is available as nutrients for consumers. Section 3.4 covers all of the nutrient cycles that I want you to focus on this semester. For example, I think you should take a look at the water cycle, the carbon cycle, the nitrogen cycle, and finally the phosphorus cycle. Section 3.5 takes another look at how scientists study ecosystems. Remember, scientists learn about ecosystems by using field and laboratory research, designing controlled experiments, and by developing mathematical and statistical models. Review Chapter 3 and let me know if you have any questions.